Ben. I'm so excited to have you on the show. Thank you for joining Oh My World.
So happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, we're lucky to have you because you are the example I always cite to people when I tell them that they, as an individual, can make a difference. So, can you tell us a little bit about how you got your idea for your special military operations campaign? And if you thought at the time, if you expected it to take off the way it did?
Well, the second half of that is really easy. I really didn't expect it to take off the way it did. I live near the Russian embassy in Washington, and it is this giant white marble monstrosity. And I used to have to drive by it every few days after the full-scale invasion began. And one day it just bothered me, this big gated complex. And I thought, there should be something we can do other than standing with signs in front of it. And one day I was driving by and I thought of this guy named Robin Bell, who is a local activist who used to project things on the Trump Hotel. He would project like the emoluments clause of the Constitution. And I thought, wow, if somebody could project a Ukrainian flag on the Russian embassy, that would be kind of epic. And it's harder because it's a really long distance because it's set back from the street. But I tweeted that somebody should try to do this. And a lot of people retweeted it and responded that that was a great idea. And nobody did it. And so about a couple of weeks later, I kind of just realized if somebody was going to do it, it was going to be me. And so a couple of young friends and I borrowed, must have been about $15,000 worth of lighting equipment, and we did it. And rather to my surprise, and this was the big surprise of the whole thing, the Russians responded. And they responded by trying to drown out the Ukrainian flag projection with their own spotlights. And I thought that was about the coolest thing ever. And the video of it, which we tweeted, went completely viral. It had millions of views. And so I thought, heck, if they care enough to respond, I'll do it again. And so I spent the next year, 2 years, investing in ever smaller and more portable equipment to project, bits of writing, symbols, art that people would draw for me to project. And then finally shrunk it down small enough that I could take it on the road and go to embassies all over the world.
I love that. I especially love the fact that the Russians responded. So, can you dive a little into that and why you think it bothered them so much?
Yeah, so the Russian response is the key to the whole thing. If I show up and I shine a light on a building, honestly, nobody gives a shit. It's just some middle-aged guy with a midlife crisis, and a lamp. But if the Russians respond, then it's kind of an interesting thing, right? And they are really consistent in their juvenile insistence on responding. So the first time we projected, they just tried to drown it out with their own bright lights. And we ended up with this, game of cat and mouse. We would move the Ukrainian flag around the building and they would chase us. The second time they had a spotlight, which was a big Z, Z being their kind of swastika symbol. And so now they would chase us around with a Z and also a V spotlight. And then we went and planted sunflowers, and the Ukrainian embassy staff came to plant sunflowers with the community, and we planted sunflowers, which are a sort of national Ukrainian symbol, all along the beds in front of the embassy, and they came out and destroyed them. And I have a video of these angelic children laying sunflowers in the driveway of the embassy and a diplomat getting out of his car and kicking the sunflowers. Um,
Oh my
and,
God.
it was really something intense. And, once the most dramatic example was last summer, I was projecting and they sent I don't know what to call him. He was some kind of a thug across the street with umbrellas, and he would try to block the images that we were projecting with umbrellas. And we videotaped the whole thing. The whole thing is, all of these things are on YouTube, including the guy, by the way, kicking the sunflowers. And so from my point of view, the key to it is not what we do, it's the reactions that we provoke, and getting them to show a little bit of the face that they show, half of 1% of the face they show in Ukraine on the streets of Washington.
Yeah, it must have been very rewarding to get under their skin this way. And I just love it. And I can
They
see, yeah, I can see why
they
sorry, go
they
ahead.
cannot stand being made fun of. And it's really, really important to them, to all dictatorships, but it's really important to them to be taken seriously. And when you show up and you don't take them seriously, and you treat them like, a schoolyard bully, and they try to get you arrested, they try to loose the Secret Service on you, and you have to be very careful in your interactions with our law enforcement that you're behaving appropriately. There's nothing illegal about shining lights on buildings, and so we've developed a very good set of relationships with law enforcement. But the key to it is to always kind of stay cool and understand that this is your right to do this, and uh, that their reaction is the prize. It's not something to be afraid of. It's actually what you're trying to solicit.
Yeah, completely. And that's why Ukrainian President Zelensky gave you an award.
Yeah, that
And
was a surprise. um, so yeah, I had the award that I have been expecting, and that honestly my feelings have been hurt that I have not received, is to be on the sanctions list from Russia. Every few months they put out a new list of sanctioned Americans, and they don't include me on it, and it hurts my feelings. And I was not expecting an actual award from the president of Ukraine, but the staff of the Ukrainian embassy in Washington nominated me for it, which was super moving. And the Ukrainian president issued a decree at the end of the year that recognized, it didn't say trolling the Russian embassy worldwide, but recognized the effort.
Well, I think it's well deserved, and I'm so happy for it. And I'm hoping for you that you get sanctioned by the Russians. So
I want that. I feel like they did complain to the State Department about me again the other day. And so they haven't, and they've complained to the Canadian authorities too. So it's
oh,
not
good.
like they've not noticed it, but they never mention me by name. They refer in general to radical Ukrainian emigres, and I'm none of the three. I'm a moderate American-born non-emigre, so 0 for 3. But they acknowledge that I'm a pain in the ass, but they've never. I want them to say my name.
I am hoping for you. I bet it'll happen soon. I'm sure. I'll wait for the next tranche of sanctions coming from Russia, and we'll see if your name is on
Every
there.
time I read through them, I go through, and it hurts my feelings.
Well, listen, in the end, you're winning, and I'm so grateful for it. And I think it's a really cool project, and I really hope that it inspires other people also to do similar types of efforts and campaigns, because it's amazing how much power you can have, how much power and influence you can have, just as a regular civilian.
So I've been joking around, but let me say this very seriously. I have done this now in 11 countries. In some countries, I've worked with local activists who've gotten, permits and whatnot. And in some countries, I've just shown up and projected, including with lasers, on the Russian embassy. I have never been arrested. Um, and the things, if you study the rules and you look carefully at what the rules do and don't forbid, the list of things that you can do that are loud, that make a statement, that are that are high value, particularly if you do them over a long period of time, and that aren't illegal, that don't require that you put yourself in danger. Just use your imagination, and use your surroundings. There are a lot of people who will help. There are a lot of people who are, who, if you figure out a crack in the system that you can exploit, they will follow you through it. And so, yeah, and if you live near a Russian diplomatic facility, lights are not very expensive and sunflower seeds are basically free.
Yes, I love that idea. And that's such a good message and such a good way to end, Ben. I am so grateful to have you. And I'm enamored by this project of yours. And I hope you keep it up and tell everybody, can you tell everyone where they can find you, where they can follow your campaign as it continues?
Yeah, so my Twitter account, which is what I used to use for this, has been killed because I trolled the Russian embassy too much with it and I impersonated them. And so my Twitter account got blown up on April Fool's Day. But I am on Instagram. All the videos are available on Instagram from around the world at Benjamin Wittes. And I live stream all of these actions on YouTube at In Lieu of Fun. You can see the umbrella guy there and the crazy diplomat attacking sunflowers. They are all there. And, we do them on a regular basis. I will be out at the embassy in Washington on February 24th. And doing some work in the meantime with some Ukrainian activists in New York.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Ben. And so excited to have you in particular this month, which is as we near the two-year anniversary of Russia's invasion. So thank you again.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.